go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Before You Bet, airing live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and the like button right down there. So great big show planned for you guys today. I know the NBA Finals doesn't get going until tomorrow. What an absolute layoff it's been, but we don't have a show tomorrow, so we're going to be trying to get ahead of things just a little bit and giving out our best bets for game one of the series going down in Boston. A beautiful board in Major League Baseball, a bunch of afternoon action, some good-looking bets in the evening as well. I have 5 total there. And also, some people might be excited about this. The CFL season is kicking off this week, so we're going to bring in our resident CFL expert, Ro, to break down his favorite futures bet for the season and a couple bets he likes for this weekend. So if you're thirsty for some football action, CFL is getting started up. Okay, let's bring in my first guest of the day. True regular. Nice shirt, John, by the way. We didn't plan this. I don't know. Look kind of lame with us both wearing the same shirt, or you like it?
Nah, we probably should rep the logo in the company and wear the gear they give us. So I guess we could talk about, we have multiple different things, but it's a little too hot for the sweater these days. So I got to go to the golf shirt.
Yeah, it's a good fit. It's a good fit. Okay, so into the NBA picks here in a moment, but more players behaving badly in professional sports as far as sports betting goes. Sports betting is a big no-no for professional athletes. And we have the San Diego Padres infielder banned for life from baseball, according to MLB. Marcano is his name. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. I never heard of the guy. He only won 4.3% of the 231 MLB related bets he plays. People are like, what the hell? He obviously wasn't betting money lines. I hope he wasn't betting money lines. That's very hard to do. That's why he was probably betting insane parlays or home run hitter or insane home run hitter parlays, I would imagine. But you guys, of course, remember from the NBA season, Jontay Porter of the Raptors. He was essentially fading himself. He got kicked out of the league. And there's more on this. What's the latest there, John? I think some news came out this morning.
Yeah, I saw some clips yesterday more about like into the investigation, and it gets darker for Jontay Porter than kind of what we obviously he got banned earlier in the year, but they were talking about, so he did actually reach a point, like why he played the unders and why he faked an injury to leave the game was he was in deep with people over gambling, and that was kind of his way out of getting them paid and getting himself out of the trouble he was in. It's kind of, when we went back, when he got suspended for life too earlier in the year, I kind of had this stance that maybe a little too harsh. I was also thinking this was more of like, remember like Jameson Williams, like for the Lions there, he just placed a bet in the stadium and got suspended. I didn't realize like this is what Jontay Porter was doing. Like he had the reports say like he like texted them saying like March 20th, I'm going to leave with an injury, take all the unders, all these things. So like he was this is way beyond like just, me and maybe I play in the NBA and I'm hanging out with you, Joe, and we do a $10 SGP or something. Like he was clearly manipulating his player props. What bothered me the most about the report was not only did he message them saying, you'll get paid, I'm going to leave with injury, but he was also trying to work a 24% profit for himself out of that deal. So
this man is a complete jackass of the highest order. Because how much could that 24% even be? Because there's limits on these bets. So what's this guy hoping to cover his Burger King lunches for a week or something with 24%?
That it was also in the report too. There was a text message he exchanged with the guy he owed money, and he was like, Jontay Porter said, like, I know how this works. If I don't get you $8,000 by Friday, you're gonna come beat me up in Toronto. Like, I don't know what his financial situation is, but you'd think an NBA player would have access to $8,000 to just pay the gambling debt versus going into a game and manipulating your unders and doing it that way. I thought that was kind of weird too, but he was way deeper into this gambling stuff, and like that, the manipulating your props like that's terrible to me. Boot him from the league. I completely changed my mind. See you never.
Yeah, sounds like a deeply troubled man with rocks for brains, and makes you wonder how he even had a high enough IQ to make it this far in his basketball career. But he doesn't have to worry about his basketball career
No.
much longer. You got to even wonder all these places in Europe if they would even care to take a shot on him, or if he's just going to be blackballed from playing the sport altogether at a professional level. It's ridiculous.
I think the report kind of, I don't know for sure, but it was kind of indicating that he might have prison time served to him based on like how like he was directly involved in like manipulating those props. And there was some law, they cited some law that he broke. And I know they arrested someone who was involved with him. They had 80,000 in cashier checks and 12,000 in cash, and they're trying to fly to Australia. They got him at the airport. So obviously this is a much bigger investigation than, once again, just Jontay Porter placing a $50 bet in his house, kind of messing up that way.
Yep. Amesh, one of our loyal viewers on X, why would you jeopardize your career for these bets? Isn't the average salary insanely high? I think the low salary is probably like 800,000 in the NBA, and he was probably making somewhere near the minimum. That's pretty good money, I would say. That story is not over. Yeah, point shaving in the NBA. Maybe at the professional level, there probably hasn't been too many instances of it. We all remember Tim Donaghy there, the referee from a decade and a half ago. But yeah, you have seen quite a bit of it in college. Division 3, Division 2. Netflix had a pretty good documentary on, I forget what it was called, but it's worth checking out. Google it and the name will pop up. It is worth watching. Absolutely. A couple guys trying to fix games. Greg weighing in the live chat. Bomby 85 in Portland, Maine. Yes, sir. I got to get down to Maine for another road trip. Great day yesterday. Let's do it again. Yes, it was a great day, but it could have been even greater. I went 4-2 in Major League Baseball. I was all fired up to tweet out 5-1 night on the diamond, but Jack Flaherty gets yanked after 60 pitches. He was cruising down there in Texas, so hopefully he isn't out long term. Hopefully just something minor, a bit of a back injury. But luck does go both ways, so I got absolutely burned there. But maybe I had a little bit of luck with the Cubs-White Sox game because I had Imanaga under 2.5 earned runs. And he had only allowed 1 up until this point, but I think the White Sox had scored 5 runs. There was an error, so a bunch of them didn't count as earned runs. But thankfully, the game got postponed due to rain, so he wasn't going to come back after I don't know how long the rain delay lasted. So maybe got saved a little bit there. So luck does go both ways with these things, right?
I was just going to say, anyone who was watching the Bad X yesterday, they had Imanaga over, I think, strikeouts. They're not going to be happy. They had the complete opposite reaction that you did of him getting pulled.
Yeah, that's a good thing with these. If you have the under on earned runs and there's a rain delay, you got to absolutely love it, because if it's long enough, the starter's not coming back into the game. Amesh says, thanks for the Gill bet. He's a machine for 18 outs the last few starts. Yeah, I think it's hit now. The over 17.5 for Gill. I think it's hitting 6 or 7 straight for him. So the value might not be there next time that comes around, because he's starting to get a lot of attention. He barely made the rotation there for the Yankees. So good for them, I guess. Okay, Big Brand says, all right, fellas, let's get wagering. Absolutely. We are on board with you, my man. Okay, so game 1 of the NBA Finals finally here Thursday night. So let's get into our best bets. We each have 2 for the game. I'm going to go with a straight-up old-fashioned full game spread bet. Give me the Dallas Mavericks as a plus 6.5 point underdog. So this is a team that plays up to the competition. 10-3 against the spread run as an underdog with 8 outright wins in the span. They're on a 5-0 straight up and against the spread streak as an underdog here in these playoffs. They've also been fantastic on the road going back to the regular season, 16-5 against the spread in their last 21 games on the road. Now, I've talked about this a lot leading up to this series. I think there's going to be a bit of an adjustment period here for the Celtics. A long-ass layoff, 10 days. They haven't had that many days off since the start of the regular season. This is also an elite step up in competition for them after playing watered-down versions teams throughout the playoffs. And even before that, they were load managing the final few weeks of the regular season. So the intensity is going way up here. And also, they're going to be reintegrating a key player into the lineup, Kristaps Porzingis. So I think it might take them a little bit of time to click here. And one thing that may have gone unnoticed here during this run the Celtics had through the Eastern Conference, a very lopsided free throw advantage they've had. They've been averaging 7.7 more free throw attempts per game, which is kind of ridiculous. I don't think they're going to have that advantage in this game, in this series. Dallas has a player in Luka that can live at the line throughout this series. They're actually averaging more free throw attempts in the playoffs. So, yeah, I like the Mavs. I don't know if they're going to win outright, but I do like them plus 6.5. So, Metler, speaking of that man, Luka, you have a bet for him. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm going Luka Doncic over 8.5 assists, minus 112. I just think when you look at Luka Doncic, his assist total, he is more of a 9.5 guy than an 8.5 guy. I think this is dropped down just because of the Timberwolves series and how the Timberwolves decided to guard him. Like, even if you just think like a random Tuesday in December, like Doncic is trading at 9.5. This is now the NBA Finals. Your usage is going to be incredibly high. Your minutes are going to be high. Like, this is it. So, like, in terms of this number being at 8.5, I think this is more. I think the Timberwolves have kind of helped you get this 8.5. Like, they had more rim protection. They were also blitzing Doncic a lot. When you blitz someone, you immediately have to get the ball out of your hands. It goes to another teammate. And now they're kind of working off of like a rotating defense, and they can kind of steal those assists away from that player. The Celtics, when they played Luka Doncic, back in March, and just in general, they have one of the lowest blitz rates in the entire NBA. If they're not blitzing him, the ball's going to be in Luka Doncic's hand. He's going to be able to turn the corner. He's going to get in the lane, and he can just generate offense for his teammates. He always has the lob threats. He always has the shooters and stuff. The Timberwolves, his assist prop was really tricky last series because if the Timberwolves constantly blitz him, you're not going to go over that total. If they're dropping back, he can easily get there. I think he had a game of 13 assists against the Timberwolves. I just really like this number at 8.5. I think this should be 9.5. I'm hoping he just gets 9, and we can go back-to-back games with this. I don't want, if he has like 14, actually that's a lot because I haven't have the most assists in one game, so I probably do want 14. But 8.5, I'm going over with Doncic. I also just think they're probably not going to double team as much as you think he will. I think they're going to go Drew Holiday 101, and he can get to his spots against Holiday. It's a matchup of like size, strength, basketball IQ. And if he's getting to his spots, he'll set up his teammates. So I really do like Luka Doncic's assist prop in this series. So I'm going over 8.5 minus 112.
Okay, next up for me, speaking of Drew Holiday, I think the series sets up nicely for him from a scoring perspective. I'm going to go with over 12.5 here in game one. This is a number that he has topped in 7 straight games here in these playoffs, becoming a pretty rock-solid scoring option here for the Celtics. I really like this because he's very likely to draw Dallas's weakest defensive players. Mavs' defensive strategy obviously will be built around Tatum and Brown. Holiday will be the 4th or 5th option on their list of priorities. So he could have it a bit easy on the offensive end. He's probably going to be guarded by Luka or Kyrie here. And look at his game logs, each passing game, each passing series here. His shot volume has gone up with each passing series, as has his field goal percentage. I shot it at an impressive 58.7% versus Indiana. Very efficient stuff. Now, the argument about this, hey, a lot of mouths to feed here for the Celtics, especially with Porzingis coming back. I don't know how involved Porzingis is going to be here in game one. I do think the shot volume will be high enough for Holiday to have a good chance of going over this number here on his home court tomorrow night. And Metler, wrap it up. You know how I love these little dinky bets. Sunday night football. Give me Gus Edwards over 2.5 receiving yards. I was panning, but multiple examples throughout the NFL season. Not many for the NBA season, but you have a little dinky bet that people should have on their radars. Break this one down for us.
Yeah, I think it's sneaky for sure. It's Maxi Kleber over 2.5 points, minus 115. So all the injury news has kind of been focused on Kristaps Porzingis here with this long layoff. Maxi Kleber was someone who had a shoulder injury, came back in the Western Conference Finals. I think maybe rushed back just a little bit with Lively being out. His shot, he was even like just hesitant to shoot. You could tell his shoulder was a little messed up. But with this extended layoff of like 10 days or a week or whatever it is for the Mavericks here, that's like a lot of time for him for someone who's already been back and played 2 games. Now you rehab, you can find your shooting stroke. He is a good 3-point shooter. I think where this prop really takes off is his defense. I think people might be surprised at how much I think Jason Kidd is going to turn to a lineup of Maxi Kleber at the 4 and Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford at the 5. And it's just because of when you match up with the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they're both very physical guards. They can get to the rim. They can kind of play in the post a little bit. I do think it'll be tricky. Like you can put PJ Washington on one of them. I just don't know if Derek Jones Jr. is more of a perimeter. I don't know if he can handle the physicality of those two guys going to the rim, so that you might turn him more size than someone like Maxi Kleber. So I think his minutes could be elevated from like a defensive perspective. I think you could see him guarding Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown as like a primary defender, and his minutes getting elevated from that standpoint. The other thing too is his threes made prop at Bet365 is half -115, and his points prop is 2.5 -115. He hits 1 3, goes over the points prop. There's really just no reason to play the threes made prop. Why would you there's a good chance he hits this with 1 3, but why would you eliminate the chance of like a free throw, layup, something, right? So I thought that was funny that those two numbers are trading at those same prices. So I'm going 2.5 -115. I love this bet for Maxi Kleber.
I love it. Every single time he touches a ball, Metler in his head's going to be thinking, shoot it, you bastard, shoot it, throw it up, somebody foul him. Okay, yeah, we'll be rooting for you on that one. Okay, so those are our best bets here for Game 1. Now, Metler will be back with us on Friday's show where we will recap Game 1 and give it our best bets for Game 2. But until then, John, tell the people where they can find you and your work.
You can find my work on the Covers picks page, MLB and NBA. And then also on X at Jon Metler. And then tomorrow we're doing the release show for Game 1 with Adam Scherher from EV Analytics. So he'll be releasing a couple of props on our show, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Should be Tuesdays and Thursdays. Actually, I think next week will be Friday because it's that's when Game 4 is. But tomorrow, Thursday, 10:30 a.m., we'll have Adam Scherher on from EV Analytics for the NBA release show.
64% of people like the Mavs to win Game 1 in the chat. Now, this is like a very public. I saw the ESPN betting show breaking it down. They were saying that the Mavs are they're a big time public favorite. Do you give a shit about stuff like that? Like, I prefer not to be on the side of the public, but overall, I don't really factor that into my betting at all. What about you?
I don't factor it in at all. I kind of what you said. Sometimes you're like, oh, it might be better to be on the opposite side. Like when you see it, sometimes when you place a bet and you're like 99% people are on the same bet, you're like, I don't know if I love that, but I never actively look at it, or I would never change. I would never go in and like get off that bet because I saw that tweet. That doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, you feel so smart when you're on the contrarian side and it wins. Like, yeah, I got the Tennessee Titans plus 8.5 here, and they cover by a point or something like that. You always love that situation. Yeah, but I don't pay the public bet percentage stuff. I don't pay too much attention to it. It doesn't scare me off or sway me either way at all. Okay, John, thanks for joining us. I can't wait. NBA Finals finally almost here. We still have another day and change before they tip off here for Game 1. But looking forward to the game. Looking forward to breaking it down, recapping it with you on Friday's show, then getting into Game 2. So best of luck. Enjoy the rest of your day. All
right, good luck with your bets for Game 1, everyone.
Indeed. Okay, now we turn the page over to Major League Baseball. So I had a goal last week to cross the 20-unit mark. I met that goal. We crossed over to like 21 and change, but then I got my ass kicked for 3 days. So now we're below. I think we're at around 18 right now. So now the goal, get past that 20-unit mark again. Nice night last night, so let's try to continue that here today. Some good-looking spots in the afternoon and this evening. Let's start down in Houston, where we're going to be fading Miles Mikolas. Started here for the dinky St. Louis Cardinals, who absolutely stink. Going to go over 2.5 earned runs for him. He's allowed at least 3 earned runs in 7 of his last 9 starts. He's gotten shit canned multiple times this season, 5 or more earned runs 4 separate times. He's getting shelled in day games. That's something to pay attention to. Routine, completely different, a day game compared to a night game. But he's had 5 starts during the day so far this season. He has a 7.36 ERA in those games. Sets up nicely here for Houston. They are smashing the shit out of right-handed pitching, 3rd in OPS over the last month. Next up, San Francisco in Arizona. Going to take San Francisco starter, fade his outs. He might have a decent game, but I'm going to go under 15.5 outs for Jordan Hicks here, -130. San Francisco seems very content with getting 5 innings or 15 total outs out of him. So he's had 15 outs or less in 7 of his last 9 starts. He often gets yanked before reaching the 90 pitch mark. That's notable because this is a guy who spent the majority of his career as a relief pitcher, and here he is starting. Against this number on the road, 15.5 outs. He's gone 0-5 against it. So he's never gone deep into a game here on the road so far this season. Probably a bad matchup for him, too, because Arizona's at home specifically versus right-handed pitching. They're clubbing 810 OPS over the last month in that situation. So hopefully they will chase him and he won't come out for the 6th inning. Patrick Corbin. We're fading this guy again. You often don't get a great chance to fade Corbin, but I'm going to do it here. I'm going to go over 1.5 walks. His walks often set at 2.5, and this is minus 135. Beautiful number here because Corbin has walked 2 or more in 8 of his last 9 starts, and in all 5 of his starts at home so far this season. He is taking on the New York Mets. They're drawing plenty of free passes versus lefties. They have the 9th highest walk percentage versus left-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. Next up, another guy I'm surprised that we can get a pretty good number on here. Paul Skeens living up to the hype here for the Pirates. Not going strikeouts for him. We're going total outs, and we're going over 15.5, minus 115. So he's had 18 outs now in 3 straight games. No fear from the Pirates in allowing him to pitch towards that 100 pitch mark. He's going up against the Dodgers. That might scare some people off. Don't be scared, homie. Don't overrate the Dodgers. They're 23rd in OPS versus righties over the last month. Also just average on the road during the span. And something I look at, this is a low hard contact pitcher versus a low hard contact offense. That might surprise some people, but LA is 26 in hard contact percentage versus righties over the last month. So let's go Paul Skeens. I am a fan for life and a fan especially today. And let's wrap things up in the Bronx. The Yankees playing host to the Twins. We're going to back a Yankees pitcher for the 2nd consecutive night. Carlos Rodon. Over 17.5 outs, minus 138 on this one. This man is an innings eater. 18 or more outs in 7 of his last 8 starts. His best work has come at home, where he has a 2.13 ERA and is 4-0 against this number this season, meaning he's had at least 18 outs in all of his 4 starts at home. Good matchup for him. The Twins stink on the road, and they stink versus left-handed pitching. On the road, they are 25th in OPS over the last month. Bit of a smaller sample size, 29th in OPS versus lefties over the last 2 weeks. So there you have it, my best 5 bets. Let's get over that 20-unit mark here again today and then work towards that 25-unit mark. Let's keep on rolling. Guys, I should have said, pretty active chat here live today. Let us know what some of your best bets are. Let us know what you're on for game 1 of the NBA Finals. If there's anything you like in Major League Baseball, drop it in the chat, and I will read a few off by the time we wrap up the show today. Not done yet. No PGA today, by the way. Neil called in sick. So, Neil, if you're watching from home, feel well soon. And if you're looking for stuff from him, you can probably find him, or you can find him on X/Twitter. I'm sure he has some stuff out for the PGA tournament here this week. But as I talked about at the top of the show, the CFL season gets going here. Some pretty good betting opportunities in the CFL. If you know where to look, I won't be giving out CFL picks this year, but one guy who will, one of the best guys at doing it, our guy, Ro. Let's bring him in. Ro, CFL season gets going this week. You must be pretty fired up for this, I'm guessing.
Yeah, man, I'm always super excited for CFL season to begin. It's also kind of the precursor to the whole football season, so gets me pretty excited, especially when NBA and NHL are starting to wind down.
Okay, so let's get right into it here, Ro. You have 3 total bets for us. You have a futures bet, and you have 2 bets for games this weekend. Let's talk this futures bet that you have first. What are you betting on here? What do you recommend to the viewers out there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these lines move fast. You're not always able to get great kind of wagers in on some of them as well, because a lot of the books will limit your bets. But at the same time, I really like the some of the player props and the unders on them. The public loves to bet overs a lot of the times. You also know that when players are coming off career best seasons, you're sometimes getting those inflated numbers. So I really like like the under on AJ Ouellette's rushing yards. Still available at 1,050.5 on the under. I know FanDuel open at that number, but it's already moved down by about 50 yards. But you can still get it at that number at Bet365. Now, Ouellette is one of the better running backs in the league, but this is definitely a sell high spot for him. He's coming off a breakout season, moving to a new team, moving to a worse team. He had more than 1,000 yards last season, but it was just over 1,000. 1,009 rushing yards with Toronto. Yards are going to be much tougher now that he's in Regina playing for the Rough Riders. Argos had one of the best lines in the league last year. They were also big. They were also up big a lot of the time last year. So playing with a lead, of course, is going to lead to more rush attempts. The Rough Riders, though, are not a great team. They had the worst defense in the league towards the end of last season. So if they fall behind early, they're really going to be abandoning that ground game. They also don't have as good of an offensive line as Toronto. So it's not going to be easy for him to find holes there. And of course, we also know that running back is one of the most injury-prone positions out there. So also something to consider anytime you are thinking of taking the over on a rushing yards futures play.
Okay, let's get into the games this week. You have two bets that you like. Set up your first one for us.
Yeah, so the first one is Edmonton Elks, Saskatchewan Roughriders, taking place on Friday. These were the two worst defenses in the league last season, and we're getting the total sitting at just 46. Now, the offenses for both these teams also had their struggles at times, but they did show improvement at certain points of the year. We saw Edmonton's offense get better towards the end of last season. Now they actually have the best passer they've had in years. They added McLeod Bethel Thompson in the offseason. This guy led the CFL in passing yards 2 years ago. He was down in the USFL last year, led that league in passing yards. Now he's in Edmonton, playing behind an improved offensive line. He's got some weapons there. So I think this Edmonton offense is going to be a bit better. At the same time, I don't think this Elks defense is going to be good, especially at the beginning of the year. Chris Jones, their head coach, he came into this team and he is kind of seen as this defensive guru, but he hasn't really done a whole lot to improve it yet. He's been just moving around a lot of pieces. He never seems quite satisfied with who he has. So hasn't been much continuity on defense. He's always kind of mixing and matching guys, and that's definitely going to lead to more defensive problems at the start of the season. At the same time, the Rough Riders, I mentioned they have AJ Ouellette now. Like I said, I don't necessarily think he's going to go over his rushing yards prop on the season, but he is going to lead an improved offense there. Their offense really fell apart after they lost their quarterback at, I think, week 6 of the season. He suffered a season-ending injury. He's back and healthy, so that offense should be better. But that defense allowed nearly 35 points per game in the last 10 games of last season, and they're not going to be any better. So I think we're going to see a higher scoring game here, and over 46 is a great number to get.
Okay, bet number 2. What do you have for us?
Argos +6. So these guys won the Grey Cup 2 years ago, were the most dominant team last season until they were upset in the East Finals. You're getting them at +6 over at DraftKings right now. A lot of other books have moved this number down to +5.5. Still love it at that number, of course. This is a number that I think is just a little bit disrespectful to the Argos. I know why it's at that number. A big problem, of course, is that they're going to be without their quarterback, reigning most outstanding player, Chad Kelly, for at least the first 9 games of the season. He's been suspended for sexual harassment. Pretty big news out of the CFL. And definitely something that's going to hurt any team. But at the same time, I think it's not going to be as much of a downgrade as many think to Cameron Dukes. Now, Dukes doesn't have the pedigree of a guy like Kelly, but Dukes came on in relief a couple times last season, started a couple games, and he really impressed in both of those games. We saw him in the preseason as well. He looked really sharp there. So while there's definitely a drop-off from Kelly to Dukes, I don't think it's a massive, massive dropout. As far as defense goes, the Argos lost a bunch of guys on defense as well, but their depth was just insane last year. They were rolling 8 deep in the defensive line. So even though they lost a few guys, they should be really good. They also, lost a bunch of guys in their secondary, but this was a secondary that was really injured last year, and it didn't make a difference. So some of those injured guys are coming back, and I think they're going to be just as good as defense. Maybe not quite as good, not quite as dominant, but still good enough to slow down the Lions enough to cover the spread, especially on the road. Lions are a team that they don't necessarily travel well to Eastern Canada, and the Argos are actually 4-1 straight up and against the spread in the last 5 meetings between these teams in Toronto. So lots of reasons to like the Argos with the points here.
Okay, there you have it. A weekly dose of CFL action, something to potentially get into with the NHL and the NBA starting to wind down, and college football and the NFL still far away. Okay, Ro, let the viewers know where they can find more of your work on the CFL and everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, the best way to do it is just follow me on Twitter. Covers_row. That's covers_RO. Of course, I'll be having my articles up on the covers.com website as well. That said, these lines move fast, so definitely check me out on Twitter because I'll be giving out my favorite leans at the start of the week, and then sometimes those will be changing by the time Friday and Thursday roll around because these lines can sometimes swing 3-4 points.
Okay, Ro, thanks a lot for joining. Best of luck with those bets, and we will catch you later this afternoon because we're recording our edition of Pound for Pound Picks. A lot to discuss in the UFC and a card this weekend, so we'll catch you then.
Yes, sir. Best of luck, Joe.
Yes, sir. Okay. In the live chat, producer Dell, who produces some of our other stuff, says Orioles -105. Now, typically I recommend fading Dell, but the Orioles are playing the Blue Jays, of who I am a fan, but they make your eyes bleed whenever you want to watch them. They are a complete and total disgrace. The way they went out in the playoffs last year, all they want to do is throw each other under the bus. They didn't do a goddamn thing about it. They put all their eggs in the one basket for Shohei Ohtani. They were being used. How'd that work out for the Blue Jays? Probably going to have to go into a complete rebuild now. Get that off my chest, I guess. Okay, guys, quick recap of my picks if you're just tuning into the show. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, I like the Mavs +6.5. Drew Holiday, I like him to have over 12.5 points. Major League Baseball, some good-looking bets here. Miles Mikolas, over 2.5 earned runs. Jordan Hicks, under 15.5 outs. Patrick Corbin, over 1.5 walks. I love that one. Let's go Mets. Paul Skeens, over 15.5 outs. Let's go Pirates. And Carlos Rodon, over 17.5 outs. I'm not going to say let's go Yankees, but I'm going to admit when I was wrong, I was dead wrong about the New York Yankees coming into the season. I thought it was ridiculous that they were favorites to win the AL East, but that division hasn't been too stiff or too difficult like it's been in past years. It looks like the Rays are finally falling off. I just told you what I think of the Blue Jays. Red Sox aren't doing much. And meanwhile, the AL Central has a bunch of teams in playoff contention this year. So kind of an interesting baseball season from that perspective. A little bit of parity, but the Yankees getting back into it. But what I will say about the Yankees, I don't like the Yankees. I don't like a lot of their players. But when the Yankees are involved in playoff baseball, it's just better. It's just an incredible atmosphere there in October. But we know what's going to happen. And I'm going to say, I'll admit I'm wrong if this happens. Here in the fall, the Yankees do their thing, have a fantastic regular season. They win 100 games. Players nominate for MVPs, Cy Youngs, maybe a Rookie of the Year this year. And then they urinate all over themselves in the playoffs. You wait and see, because they got all the pressure in the world on their shoulders, and they start to feel it. It's like the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's what I'm thinking we're going to see here with the Yankees. But yeah, I was wrong about them, at least as far as the regular season goes. We still got a long way to go here. Okay, let's wrap up the show here before I say something to get myself in trouble. We're going to be back on Friday's show to recap Game 1 of the NBA Finals, get into all of our best bets for Game 2, of course, covering Major League Baseball. Another big series gets going here this weekend, the Stanley Cup. A lot of people excited about the Edmonton Oilers and that fan they had. You might know what I'm talking about. I won't go into that anymore, but Josh Ingles is going to be with us to give us a betting preview of the Stanley Cup Finals in addition to our NBA Major League Baseball coverage. So we are very excited for that. Thank you very much to everyone for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets, and we will catch you on Friday.